What's up, YouTube? Angry Jackalope here, Rob Ricks. Gonna talk to you today about my father. I have two fathers. I have a biological father. His name was Gordon Higashi. He's dead now, and I don't know a whole lot about him, other than the fact that he was Japanese and um, he was in the army, and later on he was a manager of a potato chip company, and he died. Don't know a whole lot about him. I grew up with my stepdad. My stepdad's name is Mel, and he is pretty much very much responsible for the man that I became. I grew up feeling like the proverbial red-headed stepchild. I loved my stepdad, and I still do love him, but he was something else to grow up with. I tell you, he was hard. Woo, he was hard on us. But I'm glad he was hard on us because you know I'll revisit that. Okay, I'll revisit that part about him being hard on us. Okay, and the tough shit we went through. But you know, my dad was hard. He was a real interesting guy though. He was funny. He was a real funny guy. He was a character. My dad had a way about him. He didn't give a fuck. In fact, my dad was Superman to me in a lot of ways. He did shit that just blew my fucking mind. I'm gonna tell you two examples here. Okay, one of my earlier memories and one of my later memories. So, my earliest memory of my dad's badassery. I have no idea how old I was, but I was a young child and we were living in San Francisco, and he was taking me to a toy store to get a bug aquarium type thing. You know, it was one of those plastic things, had little air meshed tops on the bottom and on the top, and you could pop it off and put bugs inside. And like, I was a bug kid. I was a super duper bug kid. And that reminded me of another story, so I wrote that down. So anyway, he's taking me to get this fucking bug cage, right? And we're driving, and I look out the window, and I see this fucking what do they call those guys? Shaolin monk walking down San Francisco, orange robes. I'm like, holy moly, look at that guy. He's wearing orange robes. And then all of a sudden my dad slams the brake, and I fall in the back seat, you know. I don't think we were very safe conscious back then. I don't recall wearing seatbelts very often. Anyway, hear my dad say, son of a fucking, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I hear, motherfucker, fuck you. And so my dad's all, get down, stay down, don't look up. Okay. He gets out the car. And I can still hear, right? Motherfucker's like, yeah, motherfucker, what you gonna do? And I'm like, and I look. And there's my dad. There's this bald-headed dude with a fucking hammer and this other black dude there too. Oh, by the way, I failed to mention this at the very beginning. My stepdad was black. Okay? That's important because I don't want anybody saying I'm fucking racist or anything by saying black, this, or anything else, because my stepdad was black and my mother was white and my biological father was Japanese. So let us continue the story. So anyway, these two motherfuckers are facing my dad. One's got a fucking hammer, and I'm like, holy shit. Motherfucker swings with a hammer. My dad nuts shots him as he blocks the hammer. Guy comes forward. He grabs the fucking hammer from him, smashes him in the fucking face. That guy goes down. The other guy goes to run. My dad catches him in the back. Smash. Not with the pointy end of the hammer, but with the round part. Smacks him in the back of the head. That dude drops, right? Dad flips the fucking hammer, walks back. I go sit back down, gets in the car, throws the hammer to the side, slams the door, starts the car, and starts to whistle and drive off. I get up and look, and there's blood on the hammer and little bits of hair, right? I'm like, oh shit, right? Anyway, he takes me to the store. We get the bug thing. We go home. Whatever. Oh, and he said is always famous, don't tell your mom about this. He was notorious for that shit. Don't tell your mom about this. Anyway, years later, we're living in Hawaii. My brother's pumping Public Enemy, right? And the neighbors, and the walls aren't super thick, but they're not thin. You can hear noise coming through them, right? So the neighbor starts, do, 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 do. Turn that nigger music off. To which my brother goes, what? To which I go, what? And my dad says, motherfucker, right? So my dad comes with me, tells me to come with him. We go out, we come around. He goes, do, 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 on the door. Door opens up. Shotgun right to my dad's face. Whoop, right there, double barrel. Right? I'm all, oh! And I'm just picturing my dad's head going, right? So the motherfucker's all, got a fucking problem, nigger? My dad's all, nope. You want to shoot? Shoot. The guy's all, fuck you. My dad's all smiling at him, and I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking shit just got real. Right? The guy pulls the gun back in, closes it. My dad backs up, 1 step, 2 step, turns, walks off, comes back down, tells me to go. And I'm like, holy hell. Follow my dad, go back. He calls the police, calls the security up front. They all come. Meanwhile, I'm looking out the back. I see dude hightailing it down in the bushes, right? We had a plantation. It was all lush green, lots of trees, lots of little creeks and shit. This motherfucker took off and went down into the creeks. So I tell my dad this. He's like, well, let's go back over there anyway. So we go back and knock, knock, knock. And then the fucking roommate answers the door. And he's all, yeah, what's up? So my dad tells him, hey, where's your fucking buddy at? The motherfucker put the gun in her face. He goes, no, bro. No, that wasn't a gun, dude. That was a guitar. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? We know the difference between a motherfucking shotgun and a fucking guitar, right? So the cops are like, no, no, no. So my dad's all, fuck it, let's go. So my dad tells the cops, fuck it, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. You know, whatever. And I'm like, what? And the security's all, oh, you know what, blah, blah, blah. And so my dad's all, just don't worry about it, guys. It's fine. So we go back to the apartment. And my dad grabs a chair, gets up by the front window, and he's just sitting there, right? And I'm all, what's up, Pop? It's all nothing. Just take your ass to bed. Go to bed. I go to bed. You know, whatever. And I get up the next morning. His ass is still perched out there. Like a fucking alert as a motherfucker. Just watching, looking, waiting. And I'm all, you been up all night, Dad? He's all, yeah, go to school. I'm all, okay. So I get ready. I go to school. I go to school. I come home. He's whistling. He's vacuuming. He's cleaning the house. He's whistling some fucking song. Doodly 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 doo, right? And I'm all, what the fuck? I'm all, Pop, what's going on? He said, oh, I got that motherfucker. I said, what? So this is the story my dad told me. He said he was sitting there watching. Dude came, jumped in his Jeep. My dad recognized the Jeep, saw him. Guy went to leave. My dad got in the car, followed him. Went down the thing, went about 2 or 3 miles down the hill, right? There was a supermarket. I don't remember the name now. The guy went in the supermarket. My dad parked the car blocking his shit in, okay? My dad gets out, go in the supermarket, looks up and down, finds him, walks up, taps him on the shoulder. The dude turns on. My dad says, I am going to kick the fuck out of you. Finish your shopping, meet me outside. To which the guy's all, look, man, I don't know how, you know, I was drunk last night. I don't know. I'm so sorry. My dad's like, oh, dude, you're going to be sorry. You're going to be fucking sorry. Just be a fucking man and take your shit. So he goes outside, sits on this motherfucker's Jeep, and waits for him. Now, if this was today's time, I'm sure the motherfucker would have had a cell phone, would have called the police, would have called something, would have did something, right? But back then, there was no fucking cell phones, right? So this motherfucker has to come out at some point. So he comes out. My dad tells him, go ahead and put your groceries away. So the guy puts his groceries away and comes like, he's like, look, man, I don't want any problems. My dad's like, too fucking bad. You shouldn't have fucking called my son a nigger, blah, 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 and you shouldn't have put a fucking gun in my face. Now you're going to pay for that. And I promise you this will be a fair fight. I won't do nothing dirty. Let's just go, right? And so, you know, whatever. I don't know how it went, how it started, how it went down, but my dad said, yeah, I lumped him up pretty good, left him on the curb there, felt good about it, and I left. And I was like, all right, whatever. I was thinking, all right. And that Hammer Time incident, that was kind of still in the deep recesses of faint memories. And I'm thinking, maybe I imagined that shit, whatever. Well, anyway, I go down to the pool to go swimming. Well, a little while later, this motherfucker's roommate sees me and runs over to me. Hey, listen. Hey, man, tell your dad I had nothing to do with that, okay? I had nothing to do with that. That dude, I don't want that to happen to me too. I'm like, what? He goes, dude, just tell your dad I'm so sorry, and I'm going to be moving, no big deal. And I'm like, okay, whatever, right? A few days later... No, a couple of days later, I saw the motherfucker looking like a raccoon, 2 black eyes, nose busted, all swollen up, lip just jacked up, big bruising on his face right here, on his neck. It looked like my dad must have choked his ass too, because he had bruises on his neck. I was like, oh shit. So he comes up to me, because he sees us, and he's all, I just wanted to apologize for my behavior. And, just let your dad know that I am sorry about everything that went down, and it will never happen again. I said, all right, okay, whatever. So, there you go. That's 2 stories about my dad. It kind of summed up his no bullshit attitude, He was like, I don't give a fuck, And, I used to bring girls around the house, and I don't give a fuck attitude would be, 2 things would happen. First of all, they wouldn't expect to see a black man in the house, so they coming home with me. They expect somebody that looks like me. And I remember one time I left a girl, I went to go take a piss, and I hear her scream, and I run out, and I'm like, what? She's like, who is that? That's my dad. She's like, oh, she felt stupid, right? My dad starts snickering. He's all, son, you can't fuck this girl. You can't fuck her. She's just uglier than shit. And I'm like, what? She's all, what did he say? He said, son, if this bitch was water, she'd be a flood. If this bitch was wind, she'd be a storm. He said, no, scratch that. This bitch is a hurricane. He would say some fucked up shit right to the broad's face. They'd get pissed. They'd bounce out the fucking house. I'm like, fuck, Dad. He's like, look, son, I'm trying to save you from yourself. What would happen if you'd have fucked that ugly bitch and had ugly babies? Right? He said, I can't have that shit. I can't have that. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So, my dad, he was a character. He was a character. But unfortunately, I found out later he was also an addict, and he got messed up with a lot of drugs, and he was a nurse. He was an ER nurse. And I got a lot of funny stories. He'd come home and tell me shit from the hospital, but he had hard lessons for us, and one of his things was, if you fuck up, you own up to it, you take it like a man, right? Don't be a bitch. And when all the drug shit happened and he disappeared, I remember thinking, wow, where was the standing out and being a man? And at first I was a little upset, but now, I don't hate my dad. I'm not mad. I can't judge him. But I am sad that he wasn't strong enough. And this is my point. This is the point on to me, my dad was the strongest man I knew. Physically, he was imposing. He was strong. He was a foul-tempered, badass, right? And but he couldn't handle. I don't know what problems he had. I don't know what demons he was hiding or whatever else. And that's not my place to even know. That's his burden to carry, right? But I have a friend. He's got problems with family. Actually, I've got quite a few fucking friends that got problems with families, and they've had rough breaks, and shit's fucked up and hard. And this is what I always tell people, because this is what I firmly believe. Life is supposed to be hard. Life is really difficult, right? But it has to be, right? And we're all into blades. A lot of us are into blades and stuff. And the blades have to go through a hellish treatment, right? They go through this heat treat. They get beat on. They get hammered on. They get just smashed on a regular. But after all of that abuse, they come out strong, beautiful, capable, right? And it's the heat treat. It's the shit we go through that really makes us who we are. It's how our metal is tested, right? So we go through, we get hammered, we get all this heat treat and everything, and then hopefully everything that we've gone through up to that point, when the true test comes later, hopefully we're strong enough. Unfortunately for my dad, something was wrong with the heat treat. You know, he got to the point later where the blade broke, didn't handle, right? Anyway, I love my dad. I miss him. I don't hate him. And I feel bad for him. And anyway, that is the introduction to my father. And I got a lot of stories about him that I'll share. And you know, I like to think that in some kind of weird universal way, I hope and pray he's still alive. And if some weird way he ends up watching this video, hey Pop, I'm not mad at you. I love you. I hope everything is better for you. So, anyway, that's it for this episode. If you like it, please subscribe. Tell all your friends about it. Until next time.